So let's dive into the code. So we are going to declare some variables. Then we are going to check some conditions. Then we are going to do some transformations. And then we are going to return majority element. So to declare some variables, what we are going to do is we are going to take a count and we are going to initialize this value as 1. And we are going to initialize this as 1 because we can assume that the majority elements will always exist. So we take the majority element as nums of 0. The first element as the majority elements. Then we take the size as nums of size. Now that we have declared some variables, we are going to check some conditions. So we are going to traverse this array. So for this, we are going to use the for loop, and we are going to traverse the array from the second index, which is going in the array's case, it is going to be at the first index. Since we have taken the first as majority element, so we are going to traverse through from the second till the end of the array. So for that, we are going to check from taking from the first index to less than size, and we are going to do the plus plus. Now what we are going to do is we are going to check if the nums of y is equal to what we have taken as the majority element. Now if this is the case, then we can easily increment the count, else we can decrement the count. Now let's check that condition where if count has become less than equal to 0. If this has become less than equal to 0, then that means that we can substitute the majority element as the next element. Because once the count has become 0 or less than 0, then it means that the element which we have picked might not be the majority. Since count has become 0, so it can be that any element can be majority. So then we take the current element as the majority and we increment the count as 1. Now let's do some transformations. Now we check if the count is actually, now here we have gotten the majority elements. So this count is not for this check, but it is just to check if that value is the majority elements. Now we are going to traverse the array from the 0th index. And now we are going to check if the element which we have gotten as the majority and then we are going to count the occurrences of this. Now we are going to check. Now our count has contains how many times we are getting this majority elements. Now to check if that appears more than half the size, so we are going to check if count is greater than the condition size by 2. This condition, if it appears more than half the size. Now only if size count is greater than size by 2, then we are going to return the majority. Else we are going to return -1. So in this, what we have done is we have declared these variables. We have declared a count variable and we have initialized the value as 1. We have taken the first element as the majority element, and then we have taken the size of the nums array. Now we are going to traverse the array and we are going to check if the current element is the majority element, and if that's the case, we are going to increment the count, else we are decrementing the count. And if the count has become, let's say, less than or equal to 0, then we can substitute the majority elements. Once we have, now the majority elements can be the current element, which is not the case, because let's say the count are increasing. Now the count can only be decreased when it is like decremented, and it will be decremented when the current element is not majority element. So this majority will be substituted with the current element of numSci, which is not the majority element which we have picked. So then we are going to increment the count, and this transformation will check if the majority element is occurring how many times. And now if we check if it is the count is greater than the size by 2 as per the condition, then only we are going to return the majority, else we are returning -1. Now let's run this, and it is passing for the accepted cases. Now let's submit it. Yep, now this is accepted. Now we have like traversed the array twice, so it will be big of n, but 2 times the transformations. One is this for loop and another is this for loop. So we are traversing is 2 times, so it will be 2 big of n, but since we are taking as the hard case, so it will be always big of n.